All right, this is Note Taking Guide 2.3 for Math for Life. Today we're going to compare some investments. So just at the top of this note-taking guide, there's a couple of things just reminding you that we've talked about the risk associated with investments. The safest way to keep your money is in a savings account, certificate of deposit, or other things like money market accounts. As we go up the pyramid, it gets riskier and riskier. So we'll go bonds, stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. And at the very top is collectibles, like we talked about jokingly, a stuffed animal collection or gold and silver, those kinds of things. Over here again is just some risk tolerance stuff. It kind of just tells you that if you want, to have high risk and high return, these are the kinds of things that you might want to consider. So we're going to talk about the things that are on that risk pyramid today, though. So today we're going to talk about savings accounts. So saving accounts are a very safe place to store your money. You can earn usually less than 2% interest. My savings account that I have is like less than 0.5% interest. So I'm not really earning any interest on that money, but it is very safe for me because it's FDIC insured and I can get to my money whenever I want to. So savings accounts are one way to consider saving your money. If we're going to use a savings account today on this worksheet, we're going to use that compound interest formula to figure out those things. So we're going to do the one that we just did on the bell work that looks like this. That compound interest formula is the way that we find our investment earnings on a savings account. Okay, the second thing we're going to talk about today is a bond. A bond is a long-term promissory note. Bonds are issued with a face value that will be paid to the investor at the maturity date. The market value of a bond is its selling price, and it may be different than its face value. This is called a par value. So in our problems today, when we're talking about bonds, if it says par value, it's really the price that it's worth right now, and it might not be the same price that's printed on the bond. The par value is given to you as a percent, even though it doesn't have the percent sign on it. So we have to remember to change that to a decimal point number or use the percent sign on our calculator when we're dealing with that. When we're dealing with bonds, we're either considered a discount or a premium depending on if our bond is worth less than its face value or if our bond is worth more than its face value. So if it's less than its face value, we would be getting that bond at a discount. If it's more than its face value, we would be paying a premium. Mutual funds are investment companies. They use our money to buy stock in lots of companies. Because they do that, it takes away some of the risk and increases our chance of being profitable. So it's really like the stock market, but instead of just using my money, I'm using collectively a whole bunch of people's money in order to lessen my risk. Stocks are a type of investment that represents an ownership in a company. If we buy stock in a company, it's called a share. It's like owning a piece of that company. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to just kind of manipulate some investments that happen in all of those different kinds of investments. So the first example here says, Nick put $400 in a savings account with 1.49% interest compounded monthly. How much did he have at the end of 5 years? Well, anytime we're doing the interest in a savings account, we're going to use this compound interest formula. So I'm just going to write down that formula, then we're just going to substitute into it. So we've used this formula several times already, so we're not worried about using it. The principal is the amount we start out with, so $400 is what we started out with. It's 1 plus the interest rate as a decimal point number. So I'm going to move that decimal point 2 places and get 0.0149. It'll be over top of the number of times per year that my interest is compounded. Because this says monthly, that value would be 12. And then up here, 12 again, because n's repeated in that formula, times t, which is the number of years. In this case, it's 5. So take a second, punch that in your calculator, and let me know what number you get. Anybody want to tell me, or I should just put mine down and you should tell me if I'm right?
430.91.
Yeah, that's exactly what I got. Except for I wrote a 9 instead of a 4 because clearly I have issues. All right, 430.91 is what I got. So again, you guys, anytime today you're doing problems about savings account, you're going to use that compound interest formula. Okay, questions on that one? All right, the second example then is talking about bonds. It says Edgewood School bonds are selling at 97.223. What is the price of the school's $1,000 bonds? Are these bonds selling at a discount or at a premium? Well, the minute you look at this number right here and it's less than 100, it means it's selling at a discount, because 100% would be face value, right? It would be 100% of its face value. If this is less than 100, it's a discount. If it's more than 100, then it would be a premium. So we know for sure that this is selling at a discount. If you remember up here in the instructions, it said that that par value that they give me is always a percentage. So even though this doesn't have a percent number on it, this is a percentage. So in order to multiply by it, I either need to put the percent number behind it on my calculator or change my decimal point 2 places. So I would actually be multiplying by 0.97223 times that $1,000 bond to get the value that it's worth at that given point, which is called its par value. So when you do that, you get 9722.3. So even though the bond's face value is I put my decimal point in the wrong spot, you guys. You're supposed to be like, Mrs. Clark, that doesn't make sense. Let's try again. 972.23, right?
Yeah.
I put my decimal point wrong when I wrote it down. My bad. So $972, which would make sense because I got it at a discount. It should be less than $1,000, right? There's no way that that $1,000 bond's going to be close to $9,000, which is what I accidentally wrote down. Questions on how I did that? All right, a few more examples on the back, but again, like, it's not super hard. Just, you know, watch your decimal points and stuff. So Leslie buys a $1,000 bond at 105.874. We already know this is a premium. That means she paid more than its face value for it. The broker charged $3 commissions per bond with a minimum of $30 commission per order. So even if she only bought one bond, which would have been a $3 commission, how much does she actually have to pay the guy that she's paying commission to? She has to pay him $30, right? Because it's $3 per bond with a minimum of $30. So even because she's only buying one bond, it doesn't mean she gets to pay $3 commission. She actually has to pay the $30 commission. So it says, what commission did Leslie get charged? Well, she got charged that minimum of $30. So that's unfortunate. That's $27 more than she should have paid for commission, but that's what she gets charged. B says, what was the total amount she invested in the bond? Well, how are we going to figure that out? We're going to take that $1,000 and we're going to times it by this number. But remember, we got to change this to a decimal point number. So it's going to be 1.05874. Then because this says what was the total she invested, this would be the price of the bond, but we also have to count that commission that she paid. So we're going to add that $30 onto it when we're done. So do the $1,000 and times it by the 1.05874. Get that number and add 30 onto it. And then just tell me what you got for that.
1,088.74.
That's right. That's what I got also. Thank you. Okay. So this last question I think is a little bit out of order because it says what is the amount of the premium she paid on the bond? Well, if the bond was $1,000, I mean, the amount of the premium would be this amount minus $1,000. So the amount that she paid on the premium would be $88.74. Sometimes they'll ask you not to count the commission in her premium. If they do that, just take that number off first, okay? Questions on that one? All right, Velma bought 500 shares of Vesta stock at $15. The broker charged her $106 commission. Find the total of her stock. So 500 shares at how much each? $15 each. And then she has to pay $106 in commission. So we're going to add that $106 onto the end. So we're going to do 500 times it by 15 and then add that 106 on at the end to get the total amount of money that they spent. And I got $7,606 with no change. Questions on that? All right, Cecil owns 100 shares of Telios Communications stock. Par value is $100. That means the value at present time. If a dividend of 2.5% is declared, how much should Cecil get in dividends? You guys, dividends are considered to be yearly unless they tell you otherwise. So there's a problem on your assignment that says quarterly. If you get paid a dividend quarterly, then you would times whatever amount by 4, right, to figure out the yearly. So just kind of keep that in mind. But this is a 2.5% on the total value that she has. She has 100 shares worth $100 each. And to figure out how much she gets paid as that dividend, we can just change that to a decimal point number and multiply by it. You could have also just put that in as 2.5% as long as you use your percent key on your calculator. But this, if you multiply those together, that will give you the amount of money that she's going to be given as a dividend. So anybody get that? Yeah, I got $250 too. Nice job. Okay. So that's a yearly dividend. So she's really only making $250 a year on that. That's not really very good, to be honest. But like I said, sometimes dividends are paid quarterly, which means she would make 4 times that amount. Sometimes they're paid differently. So make sure you're looking at how it works before you do the problem. All right, next one. Find the net proceeds. Proceed is usually what happens after you sell something, right? It's the amount of money that you make. So find the net proceeds of 100 shares of Danbury stocks at $30.25 with a commission and other charges of $86. So when you pay someone to sell your stocks for you, you have to pay them a commission on what you make. So you have to pay $30.25 just for them selling your stocks for you. So I'm just kidding. You have to pay $86 for them selling your stocks because that was the commission. I just read that wrong again. So on the 100 shares that are worth $30.25 each, that would give us the total amount of money that the stock's worth. So the stock's worth $3,025, which would be nice if they got all that money, but like I said, they have to subtract off the amount of commission that they have to pay their stockbroker. So you're going to take that $3,025, subtract the $86 off of that, and you get $2,939. So $2,939 for the actual proceeds, the amount of money that was made. Questions on that? All right, 2 more. Alberta bought 300 shares of Parkson Equity and 500 shares of Maris Growth Fund. What is Alberta's total investment in these mutual funds? So here's your NAV, the value of it right now on these mutual funds. So if you bought 300 shares of Parkins, you'd have 300 times 927. And then I have 500 shares of Ameris, which is at 1012. And I just punched that in on my calculator. I'm going to add the 2 in the middle, so multiply and add. Take a second and do that. When I did it, I got 7,841. Somebody agrees with me? Thank you. Okay. All right, so the math's still not very hard, right? You just got to find the right stuff in the problems. Okay, last problem. It says find the proceeds. Again, we're selling stock then. It says find the proceeds from the sale of 100 shares of a mutual fund with a new asset value of $8.50. So 100 Stocks at $8.50. That's going to be $850. So I could sell it for $850 right now. That's the amount that it would be worth right now. It says find the amount of profit or loss if the total investment in the 100 shares is $675. So when I bought the shares, I only paid $675. So did I make a profit? I did. I did make a profit because I have more money now than I started out with paying for them. So how much was the profit? In order to find that, I'm going to take that amount that they're worth now, subtract off the amount that they were originally worth. Yeah, and I get a profit of $175.